Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sip, Spark, and Share. I'm Alexandra.
And I'm Sarai.
And today we're going to hit a topic that might trigger some emotions, help some healing hearts out there, but we believe that it's a topic that we should discuss and it's important.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So let's jump right into it. The topic of today is how to deal with the loss of a loved one.
Yes, that is a very hard thing to do, is just being able to be honest with yourself and allow yourself to feel all the emotions. And I think it's also something that's not even really talked about.
Yeah.
I think when people are grieving, they are just kind of going through it on their own and just doing the best that they can. And they try to move forward with life. But in the end, it's like you kind of just don't really know how to feel what's right, what's not.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it brings me to our first question, which is there even a proper way of grieving? Like, is there a wrong or right way to grieve?
Yeah. I don't think that there's any wrong way to grieve. I think that a lot of times people try to get over it as fast as possible or suppress it and ignore the feeling that they're feeling.
Yeah.
Everyone grieves in their own way. Everyone, there's different times, there's different ways. I just think that everyone should just be thoughtful and, compassionate and have patience with people when they're grieving.
Yeah, I agree, because sometimes you think that somebody's doing so well because you might see them smiling or you might see them continuing on with their life because, they have to pay bills and things.
Yeah.
And you might look at them and be like, oh, wow, does this person maybe not care? Or maybe, maybe this person is fine. They're doing great. I see that they're doing everything that they have to do. And in reality is, you don't really know how someone's truly doing if you don't truly ask. And even, let's be honest, sometimes even asking, we don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's been such a hard process for me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I sometimes don't even know what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And I had to tell myself, it's okay. It's okay if you don't know how to move forward. It's okay if you don't have it figured out. It's okay if 1 minute you're laughing and just reminiscing on things and then the next minute you're just breaking down.
Yeah.
It is a process. Like, this person has left and you're not just going to erase everything or all the years and all the memories that you've had.
Yeah.
So it's just something that's ongoing. And I don't believe there's a proper way of doing it now, but I do believe that there are ways that aren't healthy though.
Absolutely.
And I do say that when you lose a lost one, we immediately try to numb ourselves and we either look for things that are going to calm us. Like, maybe some people start drinking more or some people start smoking more. And we do go down this rabbit hole of doing things that aren't healthy. But just because it's not healthy, we're not also saying that it's also like, it's not the proper thing. Like, sometimes you got to go through that. You have to sometimes numb yourself in order to get through the day. But are there better resources out there? And that's what this podcast is about, is to let people know that just because you're grieving, don't think you have to do it by yourself. And just know that there is no proper way, but do seek help if you need it.
Absolutely. Now that you're hitting all those topics, I want to know, what are the different emotions that you felt while you was going through?
Oh my God. Well, that I'm feeling, right?
That you're
Because
feeling
I'm
right now, yes.
currently just going through, there are days where I just think of my loved ones and I'm just smiling and I'm so happy. Like, I feel like they're still here. There are days where I'm like in a disbelief, like, this really has not happened.
Yeah.
Like, this can't be true. And then there are times where I'm angry and I'm really mad. And I feel like the whole system of the medical field has failed us. And I feel like they haven't done enough. And it's just like, I have all these emotions. And unfortunately, like right now, I'm sure you hear that my voice, I'm cracking. I'm a little sick. Like, this has taken such a toll on my body that I don't even know what to do. Like, I became so sick immediately after my aunt passing away. And I didn't know or had any idea that it had anything to do that sometimes you trap emotions in your body and then they start showing up. So it's like I feel a lot of things, and then I also try to numb it sometimes, but I'm fighting so hard not to go to those coping mechanisms that are the things that I was used to, which is just to numb myself and not feel at all. Telling myself it's okay not to be okay. And that's been the biggest lesson for me. It's like, you're not okay, Sarai. You're not. But it's okay that you're not okay, and you're going to get through this.
You are.
Like, you're going to get through it.
You are.
She's still with you. You're connected with her in spirit. And I just remind myself, like, even though you're not physically here, you're here. And I feel like that's what we have to tell ourselves when we lose a loved one. They might not be here in present form, but they live in your hearts. They live in your memories. And I think that helps you get through it.
Yeah, it does.
What about you?
So I've experienced two very, very, very big losses in my life that I would say that it's like the most closest ones to me. When my grandmother passed away, and recently, about 2 years ago, when my father passed away, when I happened to be pregnant with my son, and I found out about his death. When I found out, I'll speak more about my father because it is more recent.
The more recent,
When he passed away, I was heartbroken. I was in shock. I was angry. And then as the days passed, I felt guilty. I said, why I should have called him more. I was sad. I got depressed. And then I was confused. I felt it all. And the only thing that I would do is I would just like look at, old pictures, remember the good memories. I would remember bad memories when I would get angry. But it was just, I just took it day by day, and I still take it day by day. And I just accept how I feel. I remember that when I was angry, I felt so guilty of being angry. Like I felt so guilty of being upset, and, but I realized that I couldn't be so judgmental with myself, and I couldn't also judge other people of how they chose to grieve or question people.
But that's so hard
on
not
their
to.
Grieving.
That's so hard not to do. When you're also going through the same pain, because we all think that what we're feeling is the valid feeling.
Exactly.
Right? So that is hard. I'm glad you brought that up. Like, everyone grieves differently. Everybody experiences loss differently. But it's your own feeling. And I don't feel like anybody could take that away from you. And I also think that we can make so many, it may seem like mistakes, or sometimes you're not even thinking. And you can say the wrong things or not say something. And because everybody's so sensitive. I'm sorry. Everyone's so sensitive and going through that emotion and pain. Sometimes we like nitpick at each other. And then we create this divide. And it's all due to that strong pain that we're feeling.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, does the circumstances affect the level of grief? And what I mean by that is like the difference between losing like a child versus an elderly person, or maybe a sudden death versus an expected death. Do you think there's different levels to grief?
I think that that's a good question, because I do think that there are different levels, but I don't think that your pain it would be more valid than my pain.
I agree.
Like, I understand that if there's a sudden death, it's more shocking. It's more obviously unexpected. So it is more of a like, what I mean? But I don't think that your pain, like, let's say, God forbid, someone passes away from me, but I already know that this person is going to pass away, that your pain somehow overrides my pain.
Well, because I also feel the reason why it doesn't, because I agree with you, is because there's no amount of preparedness that can prepare you for a loss.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah. And I know
all.
that a lot of times people say, like, when, like, let's say if there's somebody older
Yes.
and they pass away, a lot of people, I don't know if it's a Hispanic thing or if it's just something that's naturally said, but a lot of people say, well, at least they live their lives. I think that that's just a way of people, that's how they cope, and they try to bring comfort to it.
I think
like,
that's,
at least it, you know.
I think that's a way of when people are trying, they mean well.
They mean well, yeah.
But sometimes, even though they're meaning well, what they're saying doesn't sound right at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we deal with that?
Yeah.
Is that something that we address? Is that something that we just let go?
Like at the
like
moment?
What would be a proper way, or not just even a proper, but is that something that we should even be addressing when we're going through the grieving process?
Like if someone is to say that to me, right? Like let's say when my grandmother had passed away, if someone would have said to me, well, at least she lived her life, or at least she didn't suffer, or something like that. I don't think I would address it at the moment because you know how I am. I'm very uncomfortable with death. So I don't think that I would say anything because I would give people the benefit of the doubt that it's uncomfortable. You don't
know what to
awkward.
say sometimes.
You really don't know what to say.
I agree.
You don't even want to smile, or you don't, like, it's so sensitive. So I don't think that it should be addressed, but I understand that if you're in so much pain and somebody says something that triggers you, you will react.
Yeah.
But it's just pain.
I know. And I feel that you should address anything that bothers you.
Yeah.
You should be putting your feelings first above anybody else when you're grieving.
Yeah.
When you're grieving, it is about your loss, not about protecting other people's feelings.
That is true.
So if you do feel that you were offended and you were hurt, I always say it's better out than in. And try to say it with the best way also if you can as well. But if you can't, don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Because right now, you're not thinking logically.
Yeah.
You're not thinking straight. And I think this is the time where you get a pass to just say whatever it is that you're feeling at the moment.
That's true.
Even if you got to retake all those words back later. But when you are going through it, you should not be, just making your pain feel smaller just to not hurt somebody else. Because then you're kind of not grieving properly to me. I feel like you're just, once again, putting other people's feelings first.
Yeah.
And right now, your feelings matter.
Yeah.
So, but I do think people need to be a little more cautious with what they're saying when someone has passed away.
And what they're doing. Because a lot of times people look at, like, I know that when my grandmother passed away, I was the person looking to see who was laughing. Like when it was like the funeral, like, why are you laughing? Why are you this? Like, but because I was so sensitive.
Yeah.
That even a little chuckle would be like,
It was a question for you. You felt disrespectful.
It was a disrespect
for the person that's no longer here.
But I was also much younger, so I didn't get a chance to go to my father's funeral because I was in the hospital pushing.
Yeah, how was that for you, not being able
It was
to make it?
It was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. They gave me the option. Obviously, my brother called me and he said, I'm going to Papi's funeral. Do you want to go? I had just pushed the baby out. And I had to look at, I was breastfeeding. I said, am I going to bring a 1-day-old baby to a funeral?
Yeah.
Like, am I going to do this? And I wanted to, but I just couldn't. I was going through too much already, and I just couldn't face it. I couldn't face it. And my next question is, have you ever found an unexpected comfort from someone or something?
Oh, my God. I did. I did. And it was actually when I was recently speaking to one of my childhood friends. Shout out to Michelle. We were actually speaking through Facebook and we reached out and we were kind of just, just saying, the condolences because my aunt has passed away and she was very close to her as well.
Yeah.
And I had discovered when I was talking to her that she also had lost her 14-year-old daughter as well. Wow. And as she was telling me this, I was like, wow, how can someone that's going through so much pain and such a loss when it was like, somebody so young and the way that this person left, is still able to console me. And that brought me like so much joy to know that even though people are going through pain, they can still be there for you. And I was like, I'm over here thinking I was going to console her. And she ended up being the one just telling me so much about my aunt and how what my aunt would tell me, keep your head up high, keep going, you got this. And she brought the Tanya spirit. And that just lifted me up. And that was so unexpected. I was not expecting that.
So I can't remember anything that someone has ever said to me that brought me comfort, but I do remember something that brought immense pain to me when I was going through my father's loss. And it was that this person said, like, I don't even understand why you're hurting if you didn't grow up with him. And that just, I felt like it just was like they stabbed me in the heart. I was like, what? So that's what I remember from a specific individual. And that has remained with me. And when they said it, I don't know if they said it in a hurtful way. They were actually, I guess they were curious of like, oh, how can you be feeling like this? Like, you know, but that's why you have to watch what you say, because now this person, every time I see this person, that's what I remember. So it's just, you have to be very careful with your words. When people pass away, I don't really say much. I'm very uncomfortable
it's hard
with
to
it.
Find the right words, because there is nothing that you can say that's going to be right. The person is not coming back. They're gone. So it's like, as much as you want to say condolences and I'm here for you or whatever, all that just floats away. It goes in one ear, out the other.
And people say it so much that you're not really paying attention anyway.
At all. But it's when you can find that connection, or when you can tune into that person that left. I think that's what did it for me, is that she was able to channel in my aunt. And I felt like, wow, she's not here, but she's still talking to me. But how can you do that with people you're not connected to? She was only able to do that because, as much as connected as she was to me, my aunt left that much of an impact on her that she was able to return it back. And I just was like, wow, this is such a beautiful moment. Like that just meant the world to me. So words have power. And as much as we want to tell you what's the right way, there isn't. But just have a little more grace. A little more grace.
And a little more compassion.
Even if, I'm sorry, even if you can't understand. Try to understand, or be there in silence. Sometimes silence is all you need. Sometimes you don't need somebody calling you and calling and adding more pressure to it. Like, if you see that the person that you're calling is not reacting or is not able to pick up the phone call, sometimes they need space. There are other people that are the complete opposite. They need you to call and they need you to check in. So you got to know your people so that you know how to properly grieve with them. Right?
Absolutely.
Do
you think that there's a competition when it comes to grieving?
Oh my God.
Like, do people compete when a loved one?
I feel like unconsciously, yes. Because we're fighting for love. That is no longer there in the sense that this person can no longer validate you in person. So the only way for you to validate and to know that you were important to them is to make yourself feel like you are the one that they love the most, or do more so that, you know what I mean?
So
100%. Unfortunately, that I feel like that happens unconsciously. I don't think nobody is intentionally trying to do that. I think that we're just all in such a sensitive space that we want to prove our love to them. We want to show how much we cared, how much they mean to us. So we forget about other people's emotions. Because right now you're just so focused on your pain, and your pain is valid. But then there has to be a place where you draw a boundary or a line. If you begin to feel that it's getting offensive. Or sometimes all it takes is to say, hey, listen, I'm sure you didn't mean this, but it did also hurt me. And then we can open up a dialogue. But I feel like people do things, they keep it in, and then that little seed could be the seed to separate. If we don't initially speak up on what it is. Maybe the moment is not right away. You're not ready. You're weak. But at some point, if somebody offended you and you feel hurt, you should be able to say something, especially if they're a close loved one to you. If they're not, people come and go. But family need to be closer when there is a loss. I think that's the time that it's unfortunate that we have to wait for it to be at that time. But sometimes it takes a loss to rebuild another connection.
It's true.
And I feel like I am going through that right now with the 3 losses that I recently had. It had just shown me that connection outweighs anything. It's so important to keep up with people, even though our lives are crazy. But what you don't do when the person is alive, you're not going to do it when they're gone. It's going to be too late. So, yeah. So now with all of that, right, we know that as a family, we go through things. Some people either divide or some people either reunite. That's unfortunately what happens when there's a loss. You either reconnect or you vanish. You vanish into thin air, never see each other again. Especially if the person that has passed was the glue. Right? That's how you know how important that person was. How one person can keep an entire family together.
That's so true.
That speaks volume. And that's something that we should want to strive to be like. To always be the person that wants to unite people, not separate. And I think that was one of the lessons that I've learned with these losses, is that you want to be the person that brings people together, not separate. What about for you? Is there any takeaway, anything that you've taken from these losses that you've experienced that's made you maybe have a different perspective or view on life?
I just think that you should always, like, if you want to reach out, if you think about a person all the time, you shouldn't let whatever this person did or the anger that you have towards that person, you shouldn't let it consume you. Because when they're gone, there's so many, I wish I would have called. I wish I would have just said, you know what, I know that you did what you did, but I forgive you. I never said to my father, I forgive you. He never asked for it, but still I never said it. And I remember the last day I spoke to him, it was a huge fight. Over something so stupid. So stupid. But I was so prideful because I said, he owes me this. It was over Sion Papi. Like I would call him and he would always say, Alexandra, besa la mano. And, you know, I would always say it out of routine. But then one day I said, you know what? No, I'm not going to besarte la mano because this, and this. And he said, well, then goodbye. And I said, well, goodbye. In my pride, I did not pick up that phone and call that man again. And that was my pride. But mind you, I always talk about my father. I loved my father. Nobody can talk bad to me about my father. I defended that man over here, but you think he knew any of this? No, he didn't know none of this. Now he knows because he's up there, hopefully watching. But what I take away is don't let your anger or don't let your emotions get the best of you. You know, it's don't live in hate. Don't live and forget. Like, you need to forgive people. You need to move on. If you love this person, it doesn't matter. You know
what I just got from that? And this is something that just came to me right now as you were speaking. And the words were, don't downgrade your love. Just because what you're receiving is not what you want.
Exactly.
If you truly love someone, whether or not they feel the same, but that's what you feel, don't ever make that go away just because now your pride is, well, if you don't love me, I'm not going to love you.
Exactly.
That's not real love. Real love is, I love you whether you love me or not.
But there were so many years of that. And
I know.
But then it was the anger.
But you were angry.
I was angry.
But you never stopped loving him.
No.
But yet, you guys maybe could have moved forward had you still continued to love him and still be angry.
Yeah.
Because you're in every right to be angry. But now you're diminishing that love that you have and you're pouring water over it when in reality, all you really wanted to do was grow that love.
Yeah.
You didn't want to shut that love out.
No.
But you felt like you had to because it wasn't reciprocated.
Yeah. Like I was tired of it already.
Then when the person leaves, that's why that guilt sticks.
Yeah.
Because now you leave in guilt because you knew deep down that that's not what you felt.
Yeah.
It wasn't anger that you felt.
Yeah, like
you were crying out for love.
Yeah. So that's what I learned.
Yeah.
Do you believe that there's such a thing as over grieving?
Okay. I don't think there's such a thing as over grieving now. But yes, I was one, and I will admit that I used to think that some people were overdoing it. Yes. Why? Because you have to also take into account that I'm a person that holds everything in.
Yeah.
So when you're a person that holds everything in, you don't understand the person that's letting everything out.
Yeah.
It seems sometimes a bit much.
Yeah.
Now that there are people that overdo it and they're putting on a show and that you know that it's a show.
Yeah, the Magdalenas, they call that.
Yeah. Yes. But that does exist and that really happens. Absolutely. I've experienced losses before, but because they weren't as connected to me at the time of the loss, keep that in mind.
Yeah.
It hurt me, but it didn't take a piece of me.
Yeah.
Like right now, a piece of me has been taken. It is taken and I'm not going to ever get that back.
No.
Because at the time that this happened, me and my aunt were extremely close. And when I say close, I'm not talking about close that we would call each other and speak on the phone every day. No, she was my second mother. Like she gave me a foundation. And at the time of the loss, she was my go-to for everything that I was experiencing. And she was the person that I was most connected to out of my entire family. So now this piece of me, this person that protected me, this person that I went to for absolutely everything, it's no longer here.
Yeah.
And no one's gonna ever replace or take her space. Ever. Like that would never happen. And that connection was so special. It was so meaningful. And now I understand.
Oh, he's like, don't
I
do this to me.
understand that I feel so bad.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand this before. Like, it's one thing for you to experience or see somebody else lose somebody, but when it's your own and you're that close to them, it's a part of you that you will never get back. Never.
You have to learn. A lot of people, like they say, like, oh, how do I continue on with life? How do I move on? Like I'm never gonna be the same, and you're never going to be the same.
And that's something you have to accept.
And you have to deal with it, and you have to understand that now you cannot go back to your normal life. You cannot pick up where you left off because now you have to learn how to now move forward without this person.
Have to find a new person to call.
No, you don't replace this person.
No, but it's not a replacement. But now I have to find another avenue to be able to cope with.
Yes.
You do have to.
Yeah.
It doesn't just stay that way.
Yeah.
So it's like you're never going to understand it until you experience it yourself.
And until it's that impactful.
And
when it's that impactful, because before this, I'm going to say this here, before my father passed away, my stepfather passed away. And it obviously, he was living with me, and obviously it hurt.
Yeah.
And obviously it, seeing my mother hurt as well, it hurts.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as impactful to me as the other losses that I've said. I've had a lot of people, that's passed away, the same people that's passed away from you has passed away from me, but it's not that there isn't that same exact love or anything like that. It's just not, I don't know if it's that now I'm numb. I don't know if now it's like, I can't even deal with it.
Yeah.
But it's just, you have to learn how to move on. You have to, and like you said earlier, you have to learn how to move on in a healthy way.
In a healthy way. And that's the hardest part.
That's the hardest part.
We immediately want to run to what we know.
And numb yourself.
And numbing.
And not deal with it.
Yeah.
And that just grief. I remember, I think it was Tyler Perry who said it, grief waits for you.
Oh, yes,
you can work your way through grief. You can love your way through grief. You can drink your way through grief. You can smoke your way through grief. But grief is waiting for you.
Yes, it is.
When you're done,
it's there.
It's going to knock on your door.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to go through it. And that's the hardest thing. Nobody wants to feel pain.
No.
Nobody wants to feel this.
No, I'd never. If you would have told...
No.
I did not.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's hard.
But it's good to talk about it if you can. If you're a person like me that you talk to yourself, like I'm really good at just talking through my own pain. I'm thankfully I'm good at doing that. But even that sometimes it's not enough.
No.
Like it's not.
Just talk about it when there's like, and if you have somebody who's going through this, a lot of times with that, I don't like I said earlier, I'm not very good with the grief. I'm not very good at it. But I know that she knows that. But I do say, hey, how you feeling today?
You check in.
There's
from
a little
time to
check-in.
time.
And I'm very brief with my check-ins because I also, let's say she's been thinking about this for 22 hours of the day. And those 2 hours that she's not thinking about it, here comes Alex. Hey, how you feeling? And remind her, I think about that too. I'm like, I don't want to bring it up. So you know what I mean? So there's always check-ins, and you just gotta be there for your people.
Yeah, and like I said, sometimes
and understand
silence is the best way of being there.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's not even words. Sometimes it could just be like, what I thought was so beautiful and nice. A lot of people kept sending us dinners when we were going through this when it first happened, and I think that helped so much. I think that idea, whoever invented it, was like the best idea.
That's a Hispanic thing, I
because
believe.
you don't have time to even think about that you have to eat.
Yeah.
And when the dinners would arrive or the breakfast and stuff, it was like, wow, this is one less thing that we have to do.
Exactly.
And it's like, you didn't even have to say anything, but you showed me that you're there. You're there even if you're not constantly calling, and it's okay. And don't get me wrong, some people do need those check-ins though. Some people do need to hear that voice and need to hear that you're there.
Yeah.
So don't neglect those people that need that type of feeling, because it's important. It's important to check in, but you just got to know who to do what with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, I'm sorry guys, I'm like dying here.
She's very sick.
But this is important that we have this conversation. How can you help keep the memory alive or pay your respects to a loved one after they're no longer here? How can you do that?
I think just keep talking about them. Just keep remembering the good memories. Just always keep their name going. Just, I know a lot of people sometimes are they'll do like a little pendant or stuff, like materialistic things. If that's your thing, you do that. But I keep the memory of my loved ones alive by just remembering the good memories.
Yeah.
Like I remember with Tanya, when I came over here, I said, I was taking off my bra actually.
Oh my God.
When we was getting ready for it, I was taking off my bra and I was like, oh my God, I remember our road trips and I would be the first one. It just like that, just keep memories alive and just like saying things, just like saying things and laughing and talking about them. And
yeah, I agree. I think that that's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people want to do pictures.
Yeah.
They want to do anniversaries. They want to visit the grave. They want to do rituals. Yeah. There's no wrong or right way of keeping that loved one alive that is individual to you. But please, let's be respectful,
please,
to everybody individually. And what I mean by this is, let's say we both lost someone but you have your belief and I have my belief.
Absolutely.
I think that we have to be respectful of each other's wishes.
I think, yeah.
Right? Just because you don't believe in something doesn't mean that someone needs to stop you from doing it or vice versa. We have to be a little bit more sensitive to the fact that everyone grieves differently.
Yeah.
Everyone has different rituals. And if this person didn't leave a will that says, honor me this way, it becomes a little difficult and hard. I do want to speak about this.
Yes, yes.
Because when this person's gone, if they left step-by-step directions of what they want, we should honor it and not be fighting about what we feel.
Exactly. And I think that that's the most important. I think
that is the hardest.
I think that from the deaths that I've experienced, I think, and I recommend to every single person to make a will.
Especially in the Hispanic community, people, we need
make a will and write down.
Because this is what breaks the families apart.
This is what they're fighting over this.
Yes.
They're fighting as simple as, are we burying this person here or out there where they were born?
Yep.
So you need to make your will and write down every single thing.
Yeah.
Number one, it's less of and I'm, excuse the term I'm going to say, but headache for the people that are left.
And they're mourning you at the same time.
And yeah, exactly. And it's going to keep a lot of the peace.
Yeah.
It's going to keep a lot of the peace.
And it doesn't mean that the will has to be about money.
No,
we're just
I'm not talking about money.
Emotions. We're just talking about emotions, feelings, and whatever it is that you wanted.
Yes.
If you can take that away from the person who's going to be grieving you, that will help. Will not take away the pain.
No.
But it will help them feel at ease that they're doing what they know is right for you.
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. I know a lot of people don't believe in that. Like, oh, well, when I die, you do whatever you want with me.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond you.
It does.
You are leaving people that now are kind of having to fight to do what they think is right for you.
Absolutely.
Why leave that headache?
Yeah.
Why leave that pain apart from everything they're going to have to go through? So I think we need to also start opening up people's eyes.
Yes.
And I am just speaking completely right now to our Hispanic community out there.
Yes.
This is serious.
No, serious.
This leaves trauma.
It does.
It creates like this war.
Oh, yes.
Right? It creates an unwanted war.
Yes.
Just because, number one, in our community, we don't know how to deal with emotions. So now somebody's gone and we're fighting for that person.
Yep.
And it just becomes this thing that it doesn't have to be. Right? And I'm sure other communities go through it, but I can only speak from my experience. If you can leave a will, maybe not a will, maybe just instructions, and you tell that one person, this is where you're going to find what I need, whatever it is, but it definitely helps with the ones that are still here.
Yeah. But what role do you think spirituality and plays?
I mean, it all depends if you have one, right? I think that whatever it is you believe in, it's what's going to help you get through that pain.
Yeah.
Whether it's God, whether it's
Allah,
gods, or whatever ritual that you have going on, that's what's going to help you get through it. You know, I believe in God.
Yeah.
And in one God and one God only. And he's the one that's helped me get through this. I feel like God came to me right before all of this happened because he knew that if he didn't, I wasn't going to be able to make it out. Yeah. And I mean that. Like when we did the Finding Peace episode, that happened before my aunt had left. And when I said that I was going to be tested, I had no idea that I was going to be tested in this way. Yeah. It's kind of like I said what I said without knowing that this was going to happen. And here we are, fast forward to today. And even though a piece of me is completely gone, I am still at peace because I understand that she's in a better place, whatever that place may be for many people that are also grieving her, but she's in a better place. And I can't be selfish enough to want to have kept her here when she was going through so much pain. Yeah. So that inner peace that found me came at the right time. Because if not, like I said, that was my second mother. Yeah. And I don't even know what I would have done. This one cut me deep, deep, deep into my soul. Yeah. And it made me question a lot of things, but it did not rock my foundation.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah. So thank that. What about for you?
Losing when I lost my grandmother, I didn't have a foundation. Like, she was the glue to the family.
Yeah.
And when I lost her, I was like lost.
Yeah.
I was lost. And then as time passed, years passed, I started to feel a little bit better. But when I lost my father, losing my father was, I think, one of the most painful things that ever happened to me in my life.
Yeah.
Because I was at such a vulnerable time.
You were pregnant.
I was pregnant, but I think that was
That's an added layer of emotion.
Yeah, I think that me being pregnant was the easiest thing I was going through.
I think that's what saved you.
And I believe so. I remember that when my son was born, I thought of I had named my daughter after my mother. And when my son was born, I wanted his middle name to be my father's name, or his middle name. Mm-hmm. And I have so much regret because I thought of everyone else instead of thinking about me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then I was so low. I was so low that I didn't know. I was lost for words. I didn't even know how to feel. And then I was like, I couldn't even feel it because I just had this baby. And I was by myself. I was a single mom. And I just had so many nights that I remember that I would tell my mom, I'm taking turns of crying. Like, today I'm crying because I'm a single mom, and tomorrow I'm going to cry over my dad. And I was just like taking turns. Mm-hmm. And it was like that for months, almost a year.
Did you ever go to anyone? Because I don't think you really spoke too much about it.
No. So after my son was born, I decided to focus mostly on just that part. Mm-hmm. And then my dad, when I was so guilty that I didn't go to the funeral, and that I was so jealous of my brothers and sisters that got to go, that I just buried my feelings when they buried him. I buried it. And I just was like, I'm not doing this. I cannot mentally handle this right now. I cannot emotionally deal with this right now. And I refused to think about it. Mm-hmm. Then when the 1-year anniversary came up, I was so angry. I was so angry over certain circumstances that I also, again, refused to deal with it. And I think that I started dealing with it recently, just because I found myself a little bit more at ease, a little bit more at peace. Mm-hmm. But once again, it's not even sadness, it's anger. Because now I'm like, you're not even here to protect me. Like, you're not even here to, if you would have been here, a lot of things would have not happened. If you would have been like that man in my life, Yeah. So now I'm angry with him. Mm-hmm. But then I feel guilty for being angry with a dead person. You understand what I'm saying? That's it's like hard. There's a lot of different emotions that I'm feeling.
That's it's tough.
Yeah, because I'm so angry with him.
Yeah.
I'm so angry because just because he passed away doesn't mean that my memories or my experiences with him passed away with him.
No, it didn't.
They're still here.
They're still here.
But now I'm just angry that he didn't even make me a priority to save or to fix the relationship he had with me. Like, I wasn't even worth that. Mm-hmm. So now I'm angry that he died and I wasn't even worth enough for him to fix, for him being an older person saying, mm-hmm. You know what, before I die, let me fix the relationship I have with my daughter. I wasn't even worth that. So now I'm angry with him. But then there's other days that I'm like, oh, I miss my dad. I miss camping. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's
a wind of emotions.
And you take it day by day.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
But I still feel like you still need to give him a proper burial.
Yeah, because I didn't get to go.
Not even because of the going.
Yeah.
I'm talking about your heart and what you want to say. I feel like it's never too late to speak and say the thoughts that you have. Just because the loved one is no longer here
Oh, boy.
does not mean that you have to hold on to those things, because that's when it gets trapped in your body and you begin to get sick.
Yeah.
I don't want you to get sick.
Yeah.
So in order for that not to happen is you have to release it. Even if he's not present, you can still say out loud whatever it is that you wanted to tell him.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an expiration date on your emotions. There's no such thing as, well, it's too late, I can never say how I feel.
Yeah. So before we leave, let me wipe our tears away. And Sarai, what advice would you give someone who is currently going through this coping, this grieving, this losing of a loved one?
Just know that when you're going through grief, there's no such thing as a solution. Yeah. Just your emotions. That is the most realest thing you'll ever experience in your life, is your emotions. Now, what you do with that makes a hell of a difference.
Absolutely.
So if you're seeking quick remedies, just know as quickly as you get fixed, as quickly as you'll fall back.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's a long journey. Take your time with it.
Day
You're
by
gonna
day.
learn something new with even grief. You learn so much more with loss. Yeah. I don't know what it is about pain and losing, but the most beautiful things happen afterwards. I'm like, why can't it happen while we're here?
Well, they say that then because you don't appreciate it then.
Yeah. So we need to be in a more of a gratitude state and appreciating everything that's going on, making more time for your current loved ones, for those friendships that matter.
Yeah.
Call, I'm going to say this right now. If there is someone who is on your mind at this moment, someone who you've been feeling that you need to make a phone call and reach out, and that you feel in your heart that that person is not doing okay and your pride is holding you back, please put that pride down.
Please.
And say whatever it is that you need to say, even if it's just saying goodbye. But give yourself that. Give yourself that closure. Yeah. It's not about the other person. It is about you at the end of the day, the person who's going to be left, right? Yeah. So make up for lost time if you can. It's never too late as long as you're still breathing and you're here.
Yeah.
What is your advice?
Take it day by day. Take it day by day. Do feel what you need to feel. Don't feel guilty for feeling how you feel. And just like Saki said, if you're in an argument with somebody and it doesn't matter what it is, just reach out to that person if you can, and just, the people that you're not, family most of all, if you're not that close with those people or anything, reach out before it's too late. Because the worst thing, and I'm saying it from experience, the worst thing that you can do is lose somebody and then have all these what ifs afterwards.
Regrets.
It's the worst, most painful thing that you can deal with. And there's no way to fix that.
Whatever method you decide to go with what's right for you.
Yeah.
So please join us here on Sip, Spark, and Share our next time around.
Sorry that we're so sick.
Yeah, it's horrible. But you know what? It's real. And that's what matters. Till next time, guys. Bye.